folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you for stopping by and watching the video. You guys dealing with all this hazy stuff? I know a lot of the country right now is dealing with the wildfire smoke from out west. I heard that it's made it all the way across the Atlantic to Europe. So it's a lot of smoke. You know, today the weather is reporting that there are no clouds in the sky, but it's just this haziness. You know, the skies are kind of a whitish gray because of the smoke. Anyways, just thought I would give you that information. Before I get started, I want to say again, thank you for watching, and if you enjoy the content you see here, if you don't mind liking the video, subscribing to the channel, and maybe sharing the video. If you're on social media or something, sharing the video. It helps spread the message and grow the channel. YouTube typically does not do much of, allowing the content that I, produce to be shown to everyone, because they don't like it, right? We all know that. We all know that YouTube, Google, all those guys, they don't like this kind of content, so they kind of suppress it. It doesn't work well with their algorithms. So if you like and subscribe and share it, it kind of combats the algorithms. Today I want to talk about what can you do to prepare. We've been talking for weeks now, off and on, about all the things that's going on, and it's insurmountable, it seems like. It seems that every day it's something new. I mean, we've said this dozens of times on this channel. But what do you do? And I talk about, you got to prepare, you got to prepare. Well, how do you prepare? What do you prepare for? And something I mentioned in one of my latest videos was that typically in the past, most preppers, or at least some, I'm not one of them, and I know others that aren't, so I'm not going to say all, but some preppers typically focus on one singular event or maybe a couple of events that they prep for. For those of you that ever watched the Doomsday Prepper show, which you might have learned a little bit there, but mostly it was just a kind of a silly show. They always would focus on one thing. They would ask each family, what is it that you're preparing for? And it was economical collapse. That's what they would prepare for. And so they would build their whole preps and their plan around that one situation. Well, I have always been an advocate for planning for multi-event SHTF. Because the reality is, if a true breakdown of anything happens, it's going to be a cascading domino effect, like a big old snowball. As it rolls downhill, it's just going to start taking everything with it. That would be in just a normal situation. What we're dealing with now is, I believe, a very coordinated SHTF. To just kind of, interfere with our daily lives and a very psychological warfare that's going on. So we have to be prepared for multi-events, economic collapse, pandemic, wildfires, rioting in the streets. And so that is a little different, not so much, but really it is a little different than, just planning for, say, tornadoes or hurricanes. You need to really think through all the possibilities that could happen. So I have written down a few things, and I know that some of this is really basic and rudimentary. But I think that a lot of people just continually need to hear it. We need to be reminded of it. We need to be grounded in it, because for a lot of us, we hear what's going on, and we become almost to the point of addicted to just hearing what's going on, and forget that at some point we need to kind of shut it down so that we can actually do something to prepare. And that's a mistake that a lot of people make. And regardless of your age or your situation, your financial situation, your health, or whatever, you can do something to prepare. And even if you do just a little bit, even if you're only capable of doing certain things here and there, know that that is way more than what the average person does already. So you will be prepared more than the average person. So if you do a little and you're mentally ready for it, it greatly increases your odds over just the average person on the street that is not mentally prepared for it and has done nothing to physically prepare for any bad SHTF or multi-SHTFs that could happen. So the first one is one that we all know. We all talk about it. You've heard it a million times, I'm sure. Food, water, first aid, medicines, and self-defense. These are things that you need to initially be stocking up on. There's certainly many more things that you need, but these are the basics. Food is critical. You need to learn how to grow it, produce it, preserve it, harvest it. You need to have stockpiles of food. Those stockpiles is the buffer to get you to the place and point that you can be producing and being more self-sufficient with your food. So you need to do that. I always say, shoot for a goal of at least 2 years. Start off small. Start off with a 1-month supply, and then work from there to up to a 6-month supply, and then a year supply, and then 2 years. Just keep going at it. Water is critical. Water is life, really. You need to know that you have a supply of water. And the reason is, you might say, well, all this stuff's going on. I don't see any reason that the water supply. Well, here, especially if your water supply is dependent upon a municipality of some sort, that could be shut off. There could be breakdowns in the system. There could be grid shutdowns. Even the Fox News was running a report on that today about how, again, some analyst is talking about the fragility of our electric grid. And if that happened, it could affect the water system, because even though they have backup generators, those generators only run for so long. Water systems could be contaminated due to terrorism acts, things like that, just like the wildfire. So make sure you have a backup plan on your water, where to get it and how to treat it. On my preparewithtravis.com, here's a little plug for that. I sell and offer a really good water purification systems. They're very much like the Berkeys, but in fact they're virtually identical to the Berkeys, but they're about 1/3 of the price. I'll leave a link into the description below, and I'm going to be doing a video on one of these because we've got one and we just love it. And it really is. It's virtually identical to a Berkey in quality and output and everything, but it's cheaper. So if you're interested in something like that, there'll be a link in the description below so that you can go check that out. First aid supplies, medicines, defense like ammunition, and I'm telling you, if you don't have it already bought up, it's going to start getting hard to buy. I have seen the price increases on ammunition has been astronomical because the demand is high and the supply is a little low right now. But it's typically mostly on the ammunition, like the military NATO style ammunition, 223 9mm. If you're shooting something else, you can still find it, but you need to stock up on it so that you can defend yourself. Then plan to secure your location. If you live in the urban area or even a suburban area, you need to, especially if the areas you live are already being prone to violence, rioting, protests, things like that, you need to think long and hard about how secure you can make yourself there. Speaking to a friend the other night that it's not a huge town, but it's big enough that they're starting to have some protests that are becoming somewhat violent. Not been really on the news, but his goal has been to get out of there, and so he's realizing that he probably needs to push that goal along a little bit faster because it's getting a little crazy there, and it's going to continue to get that way. The urban areas are going to be the hardest hit, as we've seen already. So if you're not able to move out in the woods like this, you need to start working on your plan to secure where you're at as long as you can. And if you plan on bugging out, make sure you stay on top of things so that you can get out before the big, it really starts hitting. And if you don't, then you need to be prepared to hunker down until the calamity calms down a little bit. You don't want to be bugging out when chaos is happening. It lessens your chance of successfully bugging out. Gray man. I did a video on this a long time ago. I'll probably be making a new one, bringing it back up. It's very good to develop the gray man mentality, and what that means, for those that you don't know it, it's just simply learning how to kind of blend in, learning not to stick out like a sore thumb. And more, I think that's going to become a more prominent way to protect ourselves. As you know, this socialist left Marxism is being pushed, this cancel society of, you know, anyone that they don't like, you're deemed a racist or white supremacist or bigot or, you know, transphobia and all this kind of stuff. So learning to kind of blend in. And when we say gray man, we don't necessarily mean walking around in gray clothing. We mean learning how to blend in, be, you know, very neutral, very incognito. And so that is something that you're probably, if you're not already doing, it might be something that you want to consider developing, because especially depending on where you live, you don't want to be sticking out like a sore thumb. You know, if you live in the middle of Portland, you certainly don't want to be flying a, you know, Trump flag or pro-gun or conservative, anything like that, right? So it is a means of survival. Carefully talk to trusted friends about working together with the things that are happening and what could come down the pike. I mean, it may not, but I don't think we're going to be through this for a while. I think we're in the long haul for at least a couple of years, and if it doesn't get really bad, I think we're at least in it for a couple of years before it starts to improve. So either way, you need to be able to developing networks in your area of people that you're like-minded, that you trust, and that you can work together with them. Maybe it's through bartering, maybe it's protecting each other. Whatever it is, you need to be developing those relationships if you haven't already. And there's possibly, most of you probably know of people in your circle, you know, somewhat near you, that share similar ideals, and start developing and talking with them about what's going on. And you know, what if it got really bad? You know, we should kind of be talking about that. Here's one. Be prepared to hunker down for at least 6 to 8 weeks. And I'm not talking about to have what you need to be prepared for something to happen, that you need to have 6 to 8 weeks to be prepared. You need to have enough stuff prepared to last a lot longer than that. But I'm talking hunkering down. The elections are in less than 2 months. I don't know, 50, 55 days away. The before and after during the election could get pretty hairy. Both sides of the aisle of politics, left and the right, the news media, everyone's talking about it. There's this expectation that the election is going to be pretty rough to get through. There's this expectation that it's going to take quite a while to determine the victor of the election, and that regardless of who's the victor, that there's probably going to be protests and people that will not accept whatever the outcome is. So we need to be prepared for that, and what you need to do is to be prepared to hunker down for 6 to 8 weeks during that time period, to just basically close yourself up in your home, not really go out very much, not go out shopping, do very little away from your home, so that you can just kind of keep yourself protected, because in the end, the safest place you can be is in your secured home. Wherever that is, even if you're in the middle of Chicago or something like that, being locked up in your home is going to be safer than being out on the streets. So be prepared to hunker down if things get crazy, and so make sure you have enough food, supplies. It's getting close to winter, so you may need to have enough stuff to keep you warm. There could be, like I said, utility disruptions because of just the chaos that could possibly happen. May not, but it's always best to be prepared in case it does. So that's something to think about. Okay, the last one I have on here is, I feel, very important. Draw your line in the sand now and prepare for when that line is crossed, because I assure you they will cross that line. What I mean by that is, if your line in the sand is, your tolerance level is, I'm not going to take, let's say, a vaccine, then you need to start preparing now for what you do if that vaccine is forced on you. And a lot of people are saying that, well, it's probably not going to be forced. It's probably not. But here's an example. A friend of mine who works at a hospital he said that the ruling isn't official yet, but there's talk within the administration that it will become mandatory for employees of the hospital to receive a coronavirus vaccine, that if you do not receive it, you no longer can work there. And he says he's not taking it, so he is working on what is he going to do, because he's expecting that in the next probably 1 to 2 months he may be without work. So you need to draw your line in the sand now, what you will and will not accept, and then start planning accordingly for when that line is crossed, because most certainly, they are going to cross that line, whatever it is. And so plan for what are you going to do when it's, excuse me, when they tell you you can only do business in grocery stores if you have the vaccine, and if you have documentation that you have the vaccine, or if you have, you can only go out in public, or you can only go to church under these conditions. What is your plan for when that happens? And so that's what I'm talking about, is start planning now for when they cross that line with you. So establish your line in the sand now, because most likely it's going to end up getting crossed. What if they say, okay, we're confiscating firearms due to all the violence that's happened in the streets? We're going to start rounding up firearms. And I'm just, speaking hypothetically, but the point is establish that line right now and prepare for what you're going to do when they cross it, how you're going to react. That way you're not just reacting emotionally, spur of the moment, and then end up doing something maybe stupid, because, well, that's not smart. That's not preparing. And that's what we do, is we prepare for things. In the end, what is going on, what's happening, or what could happen may not be that bad. There's always that chance that in the end things kind of calm down, people are able to work it out. It could just be all hype. It could be that all this talk about New World Order and global reset and all this is just talk. And if it is, then when we, as we prepare, we've not really lost anything by preparing, because I've stocked up on some food and become more self-sufficient. I've been enriched my life, I believe. I believe I've made myself a better person. And we do know that there are times that, things like tornadoes and ice storms and hurricanes and things happen. So having a supply of goods is not a bad idea. But like I've said before, if there isn't something going on, if they don't take advantage of this situation, of all the events that are happening, then they're losing about the best chance they've ever had. So the odds are, I believe the odds are in their favor, that, or maybe I should say they're in my favor, whatever it is, of something actually happening. If there's something in the works, okay. And so I believe it is advisable, and it makes sense to prepare. And I know that there's still those people out there that are like, this just sounds like it's too much. Certainly it's just an unfortunate chain of events. That's all 2020 is. It's just an unfortunate chain of events. And I don't believe that is the case. So we have to do what we can to protect ourselves and to protect our families, and to be ready, keep the oil in our lamps for the day that the Father calls on us. So that's what we do as preppers. It's just simply an insurance policy is all it is. So folks, let me know what you think and any ideas that you have also. Let's get the conversation going in the comment section on the things that people need to be doing now to get ready. I understand they're running out of time, but even us preppers, there's some things that we can probably do between now and the time that we can do nothing any longer. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.